What is a rich person thing you would be totally into if you became rich? Story 1. Going on multiple vacations a year. I've actually made this my mission in life. So instead of buying things, we buy experiences. We also instill this in our kids. So for Christmas, we would buy one small thing and then take a cruise during the holiday. Instead of flying, we would drive to Long Beach and take a Mexico cruise. Everything was included, so we didn't need extra money. Instead of buying those expensive excursions, I got on the internet beforehand and found something cheap we could all do. My uncle married into money, and at a minimum, they would go skiing for 2 to 4 weeks a year, in the nicest places in the world, and the beach for 4 to 6 weeks a year. Again, the nicest beach destinations in the world. Talking to his kids, they were shocked when they realized all I could afford was 1 to 2 weeks off and not close to the nicest place on earth. These are my cousins in their 30s and have never once paid for their own vacation, ever. Meanwhile, I pay for almost all of my own. They live in a different world. I really hate to be that guy, but as someone living in Europe, this is almost expected. Like, I'm generally broke as crap, but I get enough vacation time and disposable income to go to a few countries every year for about a week. If you're in the States, this can also be normal for you. It isn't a pipe dream or propaganda. My life isn't negatively affected by having these privileges. Just pay attention to your local politics and vote regularly for things that would lead to this. You can totally have affordable healthcare and a nice work/life balance if you force your government to allow it. You're meant to be the person in charge of a democracy. Don't let them fool you into pointless infighting about small wedge issues. Band together as a nation and fight for a comfortable and enjoyable existence. This sort of stuff doesn't have to be just for the rich. Story 2. Secret passages in my home. I saw a video recently of a house with a big hidden door that opens up one wall of their living room, and their huge Christmas tree slides in there when it's time to put it away for the year. No undecorating, no boxing it up, literally 30 seconds and it's gone until next year. Your comment reminded me of that. My friend used to own a house with an unfinished basement. He turned the basement into an entertainment room. In this entertainment room were 2 bookshelves, one of which acted as a hidden door. He kept his safe and other valuables hidden in the secret room. I thought it was pretty cool. I worked for this dude who was very rich. He was starting a brewery. I was brought in to develop the beer recipes and get things off the ground. Fully functional, albeit very small brewery in his barn/man cave. I'm talking floor drains, ventilation, cold room, fully furnished bar and drought system, etc. Anyways, you pull a light fixture beside the racks of pool cues and a hidden door pops open. You go into the barn silo and down a spiral staircase into a hidden underground tunnel. One direction goes to his swimming pool change room where you pop out from behind a painting. The other direction goes into the main residence where you come out from a bookshelf door into the walk-in humidor and wine cellar. I'm not saying I need a walk-in humidor or wine cellar, but hidden underground tunnels were cool as hell. Super weird to see your boss just walk in through the hidden doors though. Story 3. Retiring early. My friend's ex-wife inherited several $1 million when her father died, which was after they divorced, and retired in her mid-40s. She was running her own small business at the time and sold the business, but she also owned the building the business was based in and leased it to the new owners of the business. So she now has that income on top of her millions of dollars. My friend doesn't know the exact amount she inherited, but says he'd be surprised if it wasn't at least 5 to 7 million. My friend said she remodeled her entire house after getting the inheritance as well and paid off the remaining mortgage. That sounds like a pretty sweet situation to be in. A similar thing happened to one of my bosses at an old job of mine. His dad passed away. He went to the funeral. A few months later, he got his inheritance, somewhere in the tens of millions. He quit his job and moved to Florida, where he got a house, a boat, and a part-time job working at a liquor store a couple of days a week. He said he didn't want to work full-time anymore, but couldn't imagine not working at all, so he wanted something part-time and easy. When he's not working, he's on his boat fishing. Not a bad life. I remember watching some TLC show on lottery winners, and some guy was a school janitor and track coach. He won the lottery and then just got fun part-time jobs like track coach, usher at the Mariners game, and something else to just stay busy and help people. Once I saw a show on lottery winners where winning ruined the dream for an aspiring college football coach. To become a college football coach, one has to work as an assistant coach for years. The pay is terrible and there is no job security. After winning, he tried to keep going until he realized the job he wanted was between him and another man who needed it far more to support his family. I like my job, but if I didn't need the money, There are lots of things I would enjoy more and would do more of if I didn't have such a large amount of my waking hours consumed by work. I know there are folks saying I wouldn't retire early even if I could. From conversations with people with that perspective, they seem to mostly fall into a few categories: define themselves by their job, define themselves by the amount of money they make, lack interests outside of work, often in conjunction with one or both of the first two, lack imagination or awareness of things they could do besides work for money, genuinely love what they do purely for the work itself. Pretty rare. There are no doubt some who just don't really care for their home and/or family and would rather spend their time at a job than spend more time at home. And there may be many other reasons, but my experience says most fall into the first four groups, or combinations thereof. Story 4. Paying people to do all of the chores of being a grown-up, scheduling appointments, paying my bills, cleaning my home, cooking my food, running errands, buying clothes, maintaining my home, etc. My husband just retired last year. He's 15 years older than me. I still work full-time in critical care, so I'm tired all the time. Anyway, since he's been home, he's like, wow, there's a lot to deal with in running our lives. I'm trying not to be resentful. He's one of the good guys, but sometimes out to lunch. A friend of mine pays for a maid once a week. He didn't realize that's not really a normal thing, although it's surprisingly affordable, but still expensive. It's definitely something I'll pay for if my salary goes up. In a couple of years, I'll be done with repaying my student loans, and once I do, the first thing I'll do is look for a cleaning lady. I'm a single guy working full-time and doing all my chores on my own on top of my job leaves me with either too little time to relax or socialize, or with a dirty apartment. My depression doesn't help with finding the energy to clean either. I think this is a single thing that would make my life a lot more worthwhile. Exactly this, just offload all menial labor you gotta do to employees. They get jobs, you get more time to do things you want. Then I'd go into crazy personal hobbies like getting good at archery, calligraphy, write, read, organize dinners, talk about travesties in an upstuck British accent, start using the word supper and play bridge. Story 5. Hire a stylist. I still dress like a hungover college student as a functioning adult. This is me. I would kill to have someone help me figure out what to wear, and it wouldn't hurt to have someone do my hair and nails, feed me a proper diet, and help me stay in shape. A team of people to help me look like I got my crap together. All of that, please. I feel that. Although I kinda think we don't really need a stylist, considering that most fashion influencers I see are just some sort of jogging pants and oversized coats, plus an unholy expensive designer bag. Maybe we just need a very expensive bag. My local department store and outlet mall have a free personal shopper service. Not quite as fancy as a personal stylist, but I found them amazing to take all the hassle out of shopping when I need something specific. When I first interviewed for a professional position, I was clueless about what to wear. I decided to go to Nordstrom's and buy whatever I liked, and I wouldn't even look at the price tags. I had a personal shopper fit and tailored everything from bras to blazers. It was an amazing experience, and the entire outfit and tailoring ended up to be about $500, which seems pretty reasonable. I would do it again and wish I could afford to do it more often. It was a splurge to be sure, and I'm still wearing some of the pieces 8 years later, but for dress, slacks, blazer, blouse, bra, and shoes, I thought it was reasonable. The bra alone was $70. I bought it because it fits so well, and then found some of the same size/brand secondhand/new without tags to supplement my wardrobe for way cheaper. The pants were $100, but wore like iron. I bought more of them because I could get 200 plus wears out of them at work. I track how many times I wear things for sustainability purposes. I'm okay with paying more for quality if it lasts longer. Story 6. Not worrying about money. That seems so nice. You don't have to get rich for a taste of that. I found that I didn't really change how I lived from when I made $50K to when I made $100K plus, and once I hit $100K, I wasn't really fretting about money anymore. We can go on a couple of vacations a year without worrying about saving for it. We can go out to eat/drink about as often as we would like. We can do fun things when we want that cost money, and none of it is a worry. Sure, I absolutely know we could be living much better with more money, but I'm not worried about money. It is nice. I grew up poor and was poor all through college, often having to scrape together change for some ramen or mac and cheese at the store. Now I just buy what I want and don't worry what it costs. Actually, not quite true. If it's fresh fruit or something, like I want strawberries and it's February, I don't give a crap, I'll just buy more. But if it's choosing between a store brand, which is half the price of the name brand, and it's the same crap, I buy the store brand every time. Why spend money you don't have to? I can say that at least at the normal level of comfort, that fear doesn't go away. My wife and I both have good jobs, a house, and decent retirement savings, but are certainly not at the same level where we can just lose our jobs and be fine. This is really starting to eat at me as I approach 50 in a technology job. If I lose my job because the CIO wants to bring in his offshore outsourcer buddies, I'm not getting another one easily, even though I'm very good at what I do. I could easily spend years under or unemployed compared to my current level. Ageism is real, and tech is the only profession that doesn't value experience, it seems. So it's a different worry, but the same intensity. When I was broke as a student and trying to figure out which credit card wasn't maxed so I could buy food, that was terrible. So is being nearly 50, realizing you have to navigate the corporate jungle for 20 more years or burn through all of your retirement money even before Social Security or Medicare kicks in. I'm thankful to be okay compared to a lot of people, but stressed living in a work landscape that's become more and more hostile as I've progressed. It is the greatest thing in the world. When you grew up poor and lived much of your life paycheck to paycheck, it's awful being one paycheck away from disaster. I'd go to bed scared and wake up sick, but no matter how bad things got, I never stopped retirement contributions or touched the money. It took 5 years following the Dave Ramsey snowball method to get everything, but the house paid off. That took 2 more years, and it wasn't easy because I had to change my relationship with money. But here we are, 9 years later, retired with no debt and worth nearly $2 million. I never really thought about why Dave calls it financial peace until I woke up one morning and realized I went to bed the night before and slept like a baby, and woke up at peace with the world. Ditto. 32 and paid off my house. My wife and I got married at 21. High school education, got into a trade, worked my tail off and paid cash for everything but our first home. Paid it off this year, and now it's bizarre to not have any payments or money stress. Lots of friends who are the same age and make better money called us crazy and bought new cars, toys, financed vacations, etc. They were not willing to make short-term sacrifices and now are all reliant on dual income and never missing a paycheck. I was shocked at how fast money piled up once all debt was gone. Shortly after we were debt-free, we had to have the furnace/AC replaced. We had the cash in 3 months, whereas we would have to finance it for 2 years previously. I wish personal finance was taught in school when I was a kid, but it wasn't a thing then. Only store credit cards existed, charge-a-plates, lol, and it wasn't so easy to get loans. I salute you on your financial acumen, and being so young on your wealth journey. Your friends will sadly probably be like too many I know at retirement, in debt, a mortgage, not enough in their IRAs, and retiring too early because they deserve it. They ended up working at Walmart in their 70s because they ran out of money and Social Security won't cut it, because they started drawing at 62. Story 7. Getting massages and self-care days. My husband and I have very little disposable income, but we still set aside some money for massages once a month or so. I'm a student, meaning I sit like an idiotic shrimp in front of the computer or my books all day, and my husband is a chef, so we deemed it necessary to spend money on it even though it's expensive. Totally worth it. As an expat currently living and working in the US, Americans' attitude towards massage was surprising to me when I first started working here. It seems like it falls completely in the luxury or treat yourself realm instead of being an actual therapy. My experience in my home country was that a general body massage is still a pricey experience, like $100 an hour, but if it's done by a certified, licensed massage therapist, most of the cost is covered by one's insurance, as it is considered a form of physical therapy. This, of course, doesn't mean people can book daily massages, since there is an annual limit for physiotherapy. In the US, I was surprised to learn that my work insurance doesn't cover massages unless it's done by either a doctor or a physiotherapist. I recall asking the insurance customer service person why licensed massage therapists aren't covered. Her response was that it was for the customer's safety, since they only want trained professionals in order to reduce the risk of injury, which made me laugh. How is an LMT, a person trained specifically to give massages, less qualified to give a massage than a family doctor? I'm pretty sure if I asked my primary care physician for a massage, he'd laugh me out of his office. Story 8. Hiding appliances. The fridge and the walls is peak rich people stuff. Fridges, dishwashers, etc. with cabinet fronts are standard in Europe and anything but fancy. Even a cheap rental would have a built-in oven and fridge inside of a cabinet. It's just that North America seems to be obsessed with stainless steel appliances and considers it a feature to be put on display. The attitude in Europe is the exact opposite. No one wants to see their appliances. I actually like this, and then you don't have to worry about brands and all that. You buy what works for you and you move on. Appliances should be like electricity. As long as it works, we forget about it. No need to make it a status symbol. My Bosch dishwasher used to project a light on the floor to indicate that it was running and showed the time left on the floor tiles. It was so quiet and had no visible button or display. Without that, you wouldn't have known whether it was running or not. I have a Siemens, same factory, different layout, and it's only with the time left that it's projecting on the floor. The newer dishwashers with a light have it next to the door, so it's not even that visible anymore. If you don't know where the dishwasher is, you won't even notice the light. Story 9. Generosity. I'd love to be the person who could afford to give every server and every delivery person a huge life-changing tip. I'd love to be able to donate to charities and homeless shelters and women's shelters. The only thing I'd like more is if they didn't need such generosity in the first place. I always said if I hit one of those mega lottery, the first thing I would do is give each coworker money. We are a small company and we all talk about our struggles, and I would love to ease the burden of them all. We aren't all friends, but we all do get along. Pay off mortgages, pay for someone's child tuition, just give them straight up cash, whatever it is that would help. This is me too. I've long had a list of folks throughout my life who would get a windfall if I won the lottery. My family members who would get trust funds, friends whose student loans and mortgages I'd pay off, kids whose education I'd fund, charities I'd give to in large quantities, bail I'd post, lawyers I'd pay for poor folks in jail for being poor, etc. Not this job, but the one before, when the lottery was up around $1 billion. I went around asking my coworkers what amount on a check would induce them to walk out of the job with me on the spot. The numbers were surprisingly low. I like my current job, but I'd probably not stay if I won the big one, but would give some of my favorite coworkers a chunk for fun. If I won a mega lottery like hundreds of millions, most of my family would get a good chunk of money going their way. I'd get a house for my sisters, a house for my dad, my mom would get retirement money, I'd pay off my in-laws' mortgage, my really close friends would get a nice chunk of change also. I'd probably have some people sign "that's all I'm getting" type forms though. Story 10. A maid at home. Cleaning services are surprisingly cheaper than most people think. I thought my wife was crazy when she suggested it, but we have someone come once every couple of weeks for like $120 per visit. It's not pocket change, but it's not insane like I thought it would be. For us, keeping the house tidy is something we're both bad at and is a constant source of tension. So the trade-off between dollars and quality of life is worth it. Your mileage may vary, of course. Cleaning is also something that can surprisingly help save elsewhere you didn't think. It can make you spend more time at home and not go out as much, give you the energy to cook more often. If you get stressed at home, you easily spend money on a lot of little things. I grew up in a country where it's very common for upper middle class and upper class families to have maids full time. The reason is that they are super poor, so they are willing to do the job for around $200 to $300 per month. There are lots of advantages of having a maid at home, since they do the housework, cleaning, cooking, taking care of the kids, etc. But there are also disadvantages like less privacy in your own home, and it's always risky to hire a stranger to live in your own home. It's not uncommon to hear stories about housemaids stealing stuff, and also, at least in my home country, people are very classist/racist with housemaids and talk about them in very derogatory ways. We have a lady who does the floors, bathrooms, and laundry weekly for $150. My wife keeps a spotless house 4/3 and a large outdoor entertainment section. She also finishes up the laundry. I had to mention it twice. I pay a yard man to keep the yard maintained and keep sidewalks clean, and another person for the pool and hot tub. We both are independent contractors, and we are slammed busy. We spend $1,250 per month, and yet we bill out at $3,000 our time versus theirs. Neither one of us comes from money, but we love having the fact that we do not have to deal with it. Trust me, we raised 6 good kids. We never could afford this in the past, and I am digging this stuff 100%. Story 11. I was dating a guy in college who came from a pretty privileged background. We were having lunch, and when he took a sip of his OJ, he immediately spit it back out into the bottle, pulled my bottle from my hand and said, "Don't drink it, it's gone bad." It hadn't gone bad. He had only ever had fresh squeezed OJ before, so Tropicana tasted like rot to him. I could definitely get used to that. Tropicana does kind of taste like rot compared to freshly squeezed juice, to be honest. Doesn't have to be expensive either. If you live somewhere where oranges thrive, and just squeeze them yourself. My dad took a girl on a date, or two, in college. They stopped at the grocery store to buy some food because he was cooking dinner for her that night. Based on how she acted, he thought it might have been her first time inside a grocery store. He later found out that she was like the heiress to the Cessna family or something like that. Story 12. All bills are set to auto-pay. I made a bill escrow checking account. It has been a game changer. I sat down and made a list of all my recurring bills and worked out how much I spent on each over a year, summed it all up, and then worked out how much per paycheck would get me that amount. I padded it out a tiny bit and seeded the account with a bit more so it can get started. I asked my boss to direct deposit that amount into the account and the rest into checking. Now all of my recurring bills get paid out of this account and on autopay, and I hardly ever think about it. Every year or two I redo the math and adjust what I pay into the account, but otherwise not much is needed. It is a huge stress relief. My checking account now shows me exactly what I have left to spend till the next paycheck, and I never have to worry about making rent. I'm surprised this is not more common. What? How is that a rich thing? Everyone should be doing that. What do you do otherwise? Do you just not pay some bill sometimes and accrue interest/penalty, adding more to your bills? Because that would be moronic. I mean, that's more of a middle class thing than anything, but I guess we are something of a dying breed. I do feel like I'm one of the few comfortably middle class people I know in my age group. But you are absolutely right. Not having to think about bills is one of the greatest luxuries in my life. I've set up email alerts so I can check how much money was pulled, but I never have to remember when my bills are due. The other big luxury is that payday is just another day for me. I have enough of a savings buffer that I can just spend money when I want, within reason. I do still have to live within my means. Again, middle class, not rich, instead of having to wait for when I have it. It sucks that not living paycheck to paycheck lifestyle is considered a luxury now. It didn't used to be, and it shouldn't be. You shouldn't need a STEM degree just to live the same middle class lifestyle it used to be anyone could have with a high school diploma and a factory job. Story 13. Swimming in my money bin and never letting my nephews swim in it, but I would allow them to have free reign with my pilot and plane. Fun fact, I once had the chance to plunge my hand into a massive jar of coins, mostly pennies, and let it swim like Scrooge McDuck. The reality of my fingers smashing into what felt like a solid block of concrete made me lose a real part of my childhood innocence. Also, I once heard someone say that only Scrooge is able to swim in the money like it's water because only he deserves it, so it works differently for him. It's a giant metaphor that the rules are different for the wealthy. Story 14. Understated expensive. No tacky brand labels, no loud or ugly branding, just beautifully tailored pieces. I like the whole idea of stealth wealth, having high quality stuff that isn't gaudy or flashy, like if you know, you know. There are high-end G-Shock watches made of titanium that cost several $1,000s, but if you didn't know watches, you would never look twice. Yeah, I live in London, and in the proper uber-wealthy areas like Holland Park, Knightsbridge, and Belgravia, they obviously look super rich, but there is no brand name stuff. It's like how they dress in succession. My grandparents are rich, like no more than 5 million, and also I know some other rich people with the same amount of money. A lot of the clothes they wear aren't particularly expensive, just good quality stuff without flashy branding for the London types. And my grandparents live in the country and have horses, etc., so just wear normal clothes. I'm very poor and not hugely close to my grandparents, so I doubt I'll be inheriting all of their money. Most rich people just look well put together. The expensive stuff they do wear you wouldn't necessarily know, except it's well fitted and it's made out of better quality material. They don't buy into trends and tend to buy things to last. I myself am poor, sadly, but when I buy clothes, I try to buy things that are more classic, or at least not hugely trendy. I still inject some personality so it's not all beiges, but I focus on, does it fit well? Will I still love this in a year's time, rather than is it just for this season? And how can I style it to go with what I already have? If I was suddenly rich, I'd carry on doing the same, but it would be actually super good quality. I'm sure I'd buy some cool, interesting pieces, but not all the time. Maybe once a season. You could focus on buying from small local designers that you knew didn't use sweatshops. Man, if I were suitably rich, I would love me a tacky floral Dolce & Gabbana bustier crop top plus matching wide leg pant cabana set, or a colorful metallic plissé gown with a cape, or a pair of outrageous leopard print calf hair thigh-high platform boots, or one of those woven leather Bottega Veneta bags with the gold-toned sardine-shaped handles. I don't know where I'd wear them because it's not like becoming fabulously wealthy would mean I'd have the social occasions to match, but I would assemble a loud, extravagant, and unabashedly nouveau riche closet. Story 15. I'd get all personally made bras. Perfect, comfortable, no slip or movement, just for me. 100% every bra made for my body. 100% this. The closest I've gotten to this was getting properly measured at a mall and realizing I actually have massive cups but a small underboob circumference. Suddenly the bras I started to buy became properly supportive. Changed my life. If you're in the UK/Europe, Belle Lingerie has loads of sizes. Story 16. A personal trainer might not help your motivation, but I am a 400-pound man who bought a 20-pound dumbbell today off of Amazon delivered to my home, and I'm going to just try YouTube trainers for dumbbells until I find one I enjoy, and just know that I might not like many of them, but will eventually find one I enjoy the content of. I don't know, you do you, but they are out there for that purpose ultimately. PT shouldn't be too expensive, and you don't really need them for a long time, just a month or two twice a week, to show you how things are done. I've had one like that because otherwise I wouldn't even know where to begin with, and they'll often have diet advice. Story 17. Owning a very, very, very large plot of land. I once did some work for a very wealthy person who was building a new house on a large plot of land. They couldn't effectively pull enough water from public services to irrigate their land, so they created 3 large ponds that they could draw from and act as a buffer. Well, they decided that they'd like to be able to swim in these ponds too, so they installed ozone, aeration systems, and filters. They then had them all landscaped with spots to jump in and climb out, but integrated in so they looked well cared for but not unnatural. I once had a contract to book a venue in a forest, and when we spoke to the people who worked on the farm near the forest, they clued us into the fact that their farm owner didn't just own the forest behind the farm, he owned the entire mountain behind it. Apparently he had bought it because he had always wanted to own a mountain. He had only been there a handful of times or so in the 10 years he's owned it. Story 18. A secret room. I'd love a bookcase leading to a bourbon room that had a pool table, a dartboard, big screen TVs, leather furniture, and musical instruments. One of the best parts of this would be sneaking in there and playing music when someone was in the adjacent room who didn't know about the secret room, and they'd wonder where the music was coming from. So I used to be a fire risk assessor. One office I used to visit had a chill-out room that you accessed through a fake Smeg fridge. Was brilliant, except that the fire service didn't know it was there. I've always wanted a house with fever dream style architecture. Mismatched weird styles, nonsensical features, hidden doors and passageways, odd angles, colors and textures. I recently met a dude who was renovating his place into one by slowly adding lots of weird features to an already odd layout. They have little TV nooks, lofts, a fire pole, indoor verandas, and lots of weird comic book styling. It's wild. Story 19. Art. Collecting it, commissioning it, sponsoring shows. I love to see what people create. Painting, sculpture, fabric, glass, metal, photography, mixed media, installation. When I see something I really love, it energizes me. I got this beautiful print when I was in Costa Rica for the first time and started learning about the artist, Charlie Harper. Ended up making a trip to Cincinnati to visit an exhibit at their art college, where he went to school, a retrospective of his work. Some people thought I was crazy to make a 4,000-mile round trip to go look at art, but it made me incredibly happy. Literally the happiest I had been since Costa Rica. Story 20. Traveling first class all over the world, maybe even a private jet. Yes, a private jet for sure. My wife and I travel internationally once or twice a year, and it's something we have to plan out 6 months ahead of time if we hope to get a decent price for our 8 to 12 hour economy flight. It'd be an absolute game changer if we could just get up and go with a few hours notice and get wherever we want directly and time it so that we can get a good night's sleep and lay down seats or similar in the process. I'm mutually acquainted with a pretty wealthy guy who has a private jet, and he picked me up once and flew me and some friends about an hour away, and the whole thing, parking a car right outside a private terminal, people grab your bags and walk on a plane, and it's in the air in about 5 minutes, was mind-blowing. No security, no TSA, no grinding through airports. It was heavy rich guy stuff. The whole concept of time is money became blindingly clear. It was very, very nice. That said, I'm way too cheap, even if I was rich. Somebody explained the economics of it and it was ridiculous. Thanks for watching until the end. If you have a similar story to these that you would like to share with us, please leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and subscribe. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.